Hello everybody. Today we start with a new chapter in biology standard 9th ICSE, that is nutrition, in general. This is the 10th chapter, and this also starts with the human anatomy and psychology, physiological part of the 9th standard. So we'll be having chapters like digestive system, respiration and all of humans after this. So this is the first chapter related to the human anatomy. So firstly is nutrition. The term nutrition and the food and the diet. So nutrition means supply of essential organic and inorganic chemical compounds, protein, vitamins, salts, etc. to the body. All such chemical compounds are called as nutrients. So our body requires certain amounts of proteins, vitamins, minerals, starch, glucose. So all these what the body requires, they are all kinds of nutrients, and the one or the organic or the substances which or inorganic chemicals which are going to give us these nutrients are called as nutrition. So that is, nutrition is the means of supply of the essential organic and inorganic chemical compounds. Food is any substance which we eat or drink and which contain the nutrients. For example, milk, bread, egg, fish, apple, etc. So you will see that, of course, what is food is something which we are going to eat so that we are able to get the right nutrition. Diet is a combination of food items which we eat in our meals. A balanced diet is one which contain all the principal constituents of the food in a proper quantity for a particular person. So diet is what is a combination of the different food what we eat. So when we eat, हम लोग रोटी खाते हैं, which is a starch. Okay, when we eat dal, which is a protein. So all the vegetables which are the source of minerals and vitamins. So when we are eating these different nutrients, so different food stuff. The food stuff are the one which contains or which gives us the right quantity of nutrients. So a balanced diet, okay, the diet will be the one in which you will be having different nutrients from different sources of food. And a balanced diet is the one in which all the different nutrients which are required for your body is available through the food what we are intaking. So a balanced diet is one which contains all the principal constituents of the food in proper quantity for a particular person. A balanced diet for a particular person depends on 4 factors. So what is a balanced diet? It is not that okay, जो मेरे लिए balanced diet हो possibly तुम लोग के लिए नहीं हो because of the age factor. Okay, so or because of many other reasons also. That's why we will see that the balanced diet will depend upon, first is the age of the person, whether child, young or old. Second, sex of the individual, whether he is a male or a female. Third, lifestyle, nature of work, whether he's a farmer, sports person, etc. So depending upon what kind of strenuous activity he is doing. Suppose a farmer is there, he is doing a strenuous activity, then his balanced diet will be different than a person who is office going or office bearer, who is just going to be a person who is going to do the office and doing some mental work and not less amount of physical work. Okay, so when a person, depending upon what kind of activity he is doing, he will be requiring a certain amount of diet. That is the lifestyle and nature of work. And finally, is the special needs of the person, like he is a sick person or a pregnant lady or a nursing mother. So in that case, each and every person, depending upon his own kind of the need, he will be required to take a certain amount of right quantity of certain nutrition, which will be the balanced diet for that person. Meal is the food taken at any time to satisfy the appetite, of course. So what is that meal? Meal is that अपने appetite को satisfy करने के लिए जो हम लोग खाते हैं, that is a meal. So appetite means the desire to eat, of course, while hunger is uneasy sensation due to lack of food. So when we want a good appetite means we are not hungry, we just need a particular amount of food. But when we feel that we are lacking certain kind of food, then we are lacking then it is called as hunger. Now the need for nutrition. First thing, all living organisms require food. It is necessary for 6 main purposes. So what is the requirement? Why do we need nutrition? So that's the main thing. Why do we need nutrition? So these are the 6 main points which are given here for the need for nutrition. First is the growth. Building up new protoplasm or cell for growth. So yes, our cells are continuously multiplying. They are keep for our growth, for our repairs. So that's why the cells need to grow, and for that particular cells to grow, it requires nutrition. So first thing is that it requires for building up new protoplasm or cells for growth. Second is repair. Providing material for the repair of the worn out or injured cells. So cells are going to be injured continuously, is it to such an extent that but just by scratching over here, I am killed, means many of the cells are getting destroyed. So that particular injured or destroyed, so that cells needs to be replaced. So that replacement or the repair which is going to take place requires the nutrition as its requirement. Energy. Providing energy needs to be needed by the body to carry out various life processes. So the third thing for why the nutrition is required is for providing energy to the body. Okay, the body is going to require energy to do any work. So that energy which is requires is going to be available to the body with the help of the nutrition which he is going to intake. Fourth, maintenance of chemical composition of the cells. Now our body is going to generate a huge amount of different enzymes for all the different activities. So that enzyme which is going to produce, it requires many chemicals for its generation. So these chemicals are going to be required in the body in the right quantity. So that's why the maintenance of the chemical composition of the body, the nutrients are required. Provision of raw material for the manufacture of various secretions such as enzymes, hormones, sweat, milk, etc. So again, it's the same thing, similar thing, but only here it is properly. So that was only the maintenance of the chemical composition of the cells, but now it is for for the raw material for making the different enzymes. So I just jumbled up the whole thing. So the first one was for the chemical composition of the body. So chemical composition को maintain करने के लिए. Or second one is a raw material to prepare the enzymes and the different kind of hormones and secretions which are given out by the body. So that's why we require a provision of raw materials के लिए we require nutrition. And lastly is protection from diseases and infections. Yeah, nutrients are going to help us to allow us to be strong enough to fight against the viruses and diseases. So to fight against these diseases, we require good amount of nutrition so that we get good amount of protection from the disease and infections. So this was about the need of the nutrition. Now we see the next thing, and that is the classes of nutrients. So the nutrients are divided, or you can say the nutrients are categorized into different forms. Okay, the first form, so there are today 6 classes of food, and so there are 6 classes of food substances called nutrients. They are carbohydrates, fats, proteins, mineral salts, vitamins, and water. So these are the 6 different nutrients which our body requires on a regular basis. That is, so we'll go through them one by one. So first one is carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the compounds of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So carbohydrates are the one which are made up of. So first one is carbohydrates. That is formed by carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So carbohydrates are a compound of carbon, hydrogen, water, and oxygen, such that this is always in the form of water, H2O. Okay, the ratio in which the hydrogen and oxygen will be present in a carbohydrate will always be such that it forms into a water molecule. So that is 2:1. Carbohydrates are compounds of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, with hydrogen and oxygen always in the ratio of 2:1. They are oxidized in the cell to release energy. Carbohydrates include sugar, starch, cellulose, etc. Carbohydrates are the principal energy sources in the body. Now carbohydrates, now we can easily name, the name itself tells me carbon, hydrates, water. That's why it is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen in the form of T:1 in the ratio 2:1. Hence it is called as carbohydrates. Now carbohydrates are the main sources of energy in our body. We have learned in respiration that respiration with C6H12O6 is going to be broken down. That is, the glucose present in our body is going to be broken down into carbon dioxide and water and gives you ATP. So what is this glucose? This glucose is nothing but the simple carbohydrate. Okay, so glucose is the first form of carbohydrate. So that is why we see that carbohydrates are the first source of energy or the principal source of energy for the body. The carbohydrates can be further classified into sugars. Now sugar are soluble in water and taste sweet. Broadly, the sugar is in our food are of two major categories: monosaccharides or simple sugar. With a general chemical formula 6,6H12O6, these needs no digestion and are straight away absorbed into the body. The three types of simple sugar are glucose, popularly now called as grape sugar, is the most common and simplest sugar found in organism. When we say blood sugar, it means the glucose level in the blood. 1 mole of glucose releases 686 kilocalories of energy. The second is fructose, common in plants and is popularly called as fruit sugar, and galactose, another simple sugar found in milk. So the sugar, carbohydrates can be defined as sugars, and the sugar can be of two kinds. One is monosaccharides, so it's monosaccharides, CARIDES, and then simple sugar, and or polysaccharides, or di and double sugar, so disaccharides. The mono sugar are of three kinds. The first one being glucose. The glucose is the one which is grape sugar, called as grape sugar. The second one is fructose, which is from the fruits, that is normally the one from the plants, and the other one is galactose, that is the galactose, which is from the milk. So milk sugar is the galactose. So we have got that glucose is the most simplest form, and it takes these kind of sugar. The monosaccharides are the one which are very easy to be taken in by the blood. The blood is going to take them very easily. It is going to absorb in the blood very quickly. Okay, so जो normally कहते हैं ना ग्लूकोन डी पिए, आपका धूप से बहुत अगर drain out हो गए after playing something or coming from a hot sun, so you normally take glucon D. Why it is glucon D? Because it contains glucose. So the glucose is going to be directly taken in by the blood from the mouth itself. So that's why it is doesn't require any complete process of digestion to be taking place. And due to this thing, your energy levels are increasing almost instantaneously by taking such kind of glucose thing. So that is why glucose. Fructose is of course by the plants, and galactose is by the milk, so found in the milk. Disaccharides or double sugar have general chemical formula C12H22O6. They require digestion to get absorbed in the body. The three types of double sugar are sucrose. So disaccharides will be of the three kinds. One is, I'll write it this way. So first one is sucrose. So sucrose is a common commercial sugar, the normal sugar what we are having in the house, chini, that is sugar, that is sucrose. It is commonly obtained from sugarcane in our country. Another source of sucrose is the sugar beet. Sucrose is a double sugar made up of two simple sugar, glucose and fructose. So it's a double sugar made up of glucose and fructose. ये दोनों का combination forms sucrose. The next is maltose. That is malt sugar. So, malt sugar made up of two glucose molecules. Two glucose molecules form a malt sugar. And lactose is of milk sugar, which is the glucose plus galactose. Glucose plus galactose give you the double sugar, which is the lactose. Okay. So these are the different kind of sugars. That is monosaccharides, glucose, fructose, galactose. Disaccharides, double sugar means sucrose, maltose and lactose. So that was the first kind of nutrient. substance. The second one is starch. So the next one is going to be starch. Starch is an insoluble carbohydrate. It is in the form of that plant commonly stores carbohydrates. Potato, grains, rice, wheat, maize, barley and bread are chief sources of starch. The starch has a chemical formula C6H10O5N and is called a polysaccharide. So starch is of course a kind of sugar also because it's a kind of carbohydrate, but the thing over here is that it has got the general formula as C6H10O5. So here you can see that it is still in the ratio 2:1. And N. And why is it N? Because there are multiple number of such kind of molecules clubbed together to form a polymer, which is called as polymerization, or we can say that the formation of a larger molecule of a carbohydrate to give you starch. So starch is hence they are not called as monosaccharide or disaccharide, but they are polysaccharides. These are forming into polysaccharides, means multiple number of molecules of the carbohydrates or these C6H10O5 combining together to form a polysaccharide, which is nothing but a starch. It is the starch is the form in which the plants normally store their energy or store their food material or store their carbohydrates in them. So potato, grains, bread, they are the examples of starch. Two other insoluble polysaccharide carbohydrates are cellulose and glycogen. Cellulose is found in cell walls of plant. It is not used by our body and remains undigested, but it contributes in providing roughage for proper functioning of the gut. Glycogen is in the form in which carbohydrates are stored in animals, majorly in liver and some muscles. So the polysaccharides are also of another two kinds, that is, one is the cellulose and other is the glycogen. Now glycogen is going to be stored in our body in the liver and the muscles in the form of वो glycogen ही बाद में glucose बनेगा in case of any requirement by the body. So that is one part, but the cellulose is a part by which the cell wall of the plant cell is made up of. Now in the human body does not have the capacity to digest the cellulose. So as such, there is no nutritive value of the cellulose for humans. But this cellulose helps in a different manner in digestion for humans. This is because the cellulose is going to act as a roughage. Now what does the roughage do? Roughage will be a fibrous thing. So that fibrous thing, what it will do? It will be helping the human body to clean the complete gut area. The complete digestive system is going to be cleaned up. The pushing of the complete thing, the cleaning of the gut is done with the help of the roughage. So roughage, a non-digestible cellulose. The cell of all the plants have cell walls made up of cellulose. When we eat fruits, raw vegetables and other plant material, cellulose is not digested in our blood canal or in our food canal. This is because we have no cellulose digesting enzyme. The undigested cellulose, being fibrous in nature, acts as roughage. The role of roughage: being fibrous, cellulose absorbs a lot of water and retains it, thus helps in keeping the fecal matter soft and prevents constipation. So if you have material which is having food which has got good amount of cellulose in them, it will see to it that you do not suffer from any kind of digestive problems like constipation and all, because the roughage is going to help in the clearing of the gut area. The movement of the because it is going to absorb the moisture for you. So the absorption of moisture and keeping the fecal matter soft is going to be one of the most important part of the roughage. The movement of the undigested food through the intestine becomes easier and it stimulates the muscle contraction in the intestinal walls, making the movement of the fecal matter easy. So these are the three main things of the roughage. Sources of roughage are vegetables, fruits, corn, half-crushed wheat, dalia, and the chief sources of the roughage in our food. Cabbage is one vegetable which provides a lot of roughage. The next is fats. So the okay. Sorry, this is not second part. Carbohydrates में starch भी था. So this is the different. Starch is one of the parts. So it is monosaccharides. So we can see over here, carbohydrates have got three parts. One is monosaccharides, disaccharides, and then polysaccharides. So these are the three parts of starch of the carbohydrates. The second one is fats. Fat are also composed of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The oxygen content in these nutrients is much less. They provide more energy than carbohydrates do. One mole of fat releases 9.45 kilocalorie of energy. Common food rich in fats are butter, clarified butter, ghee, cheese, vegetable oil, beef, and fish liver oil. Fats and oils are made up of fatty acids and glycerols. So fats are again made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but here the oxygen content is less, and these are mainly the one which are going to be stored in the body and give you energy. They normally give a lot more amount of energy than the carbohydrates. Okay, so fats normally store energy for you, so that's why it is going to be, and they are normally going to be available in butter, cheese, ghee, fish oils, and all. Function of the fats kya hai? So first of all is fat produces energy in the body like carbohydrates. So first is energy production. Second, it is important storage form of food. So fats are stored in our body, and hence they have become an important storage of food, because when a person is starving or he is not able to have or not going to have food for a longer period due to his own wish of fasting or something, then the fats are the one which are going to be giving out the energy to the body. It serves as a solvent of fat soluble vitamins. So the vitamins which are fat soluble, A, D, E, and K. Now these vitamins which are fat soluble, they can be retained in our body in the fats because they are fat soluble, whereas vitamin B and C are water soluble, which do not get retained in the body, and hence we need to intake vitamin B and C on a regular basis, whereas A, D, E, and K can be present in a body, remain in a body in terms of fats. Fat under the skin protects the body against a rapid loss of heat, that is insulation. So fats on the skin, the fat also acts as an insulating material, so it does not allow the heat to be given out so easily. The third nutrients is the protein. Now the proteins are large chemical molecules. They contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. So here they have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and also nitrogen is there in case of proteins. And nitrogen is the most essential element in protein. Some proteins may also contain sulfur and phosphorus. Amino acids are simple, smaller units of proteins. Protein provide chemical material for the growth and repair of body cells and tissues. In time of emergency, they may also oxidize to release energy. So proteins mainly are the one which are going to be as the cell growth के लिए use होने वाला. So it will be the one which is for growth and repair of the body. But in case of emergency, the proteins can also give energy to the body. Food rich in protein include lean meat, fish, egg, milk, cheese, nuts, beans, peas, etc. Deficiency of protein leads to weakness, but it's in severe deficiency causes two diseases, kwashiorkor and marasmus. Kwashiorkor, Sukha Rog. It is a severe protein deficiency disease usually affecting young children. These diseases are caused when mother stops breastfeeding their babies at an early age and the child is given a diet poor in proteins. Mother's milk is rich in protein, and after weaning, the child is given a diet mainly consisting of carbohydrates and poor in proteins. The suffering child may die before the age of 5 years. So that's why kwashiorkor is something which is going to happen to a child who is in the age group of 1 to 5, and this is the kind of disease which is going to be caused if the mother stops breastfeeding the baby in a very early stage. And then if the food what the baby is having is not rich in proteins, then the child can suffer from kwashiorkor. So the symptoms of kwashiorkor is underweight, belly protruding out, skin getting dark and scaly, stunted growth, loss of appetite, repeated diarrhea, enlarged liver and anemia, oedema, that is swelling of the feet and face due to accumulation of water in the tissues of the feet and face. Control के लिए control and treatment. The child suffering from kwashiorkor should be given a protein-rich diet consisting of pulses, milk, meat, fish, egg. A mixed diet of wheat, gram, peanut, soybean, and jaggery is also useful. Kwashiorkor, the name kwashiorkor is an African term which means the sickness of child gets when a new baby comes. This is so because the elder child's source of protein, mother's milk, is no longer available, and now he is usually fed on a starchy diet consisting mostly of fruits and vegetables. So that's the origin of the kwashiorkor. It's an African term for sickness of the child gets when a new baby. So when the difference between the two babies is very less, so if it is within a year's time, then what happens? The new baby which is going to come is going to be fed by the mother's milk, whereas the elder child will not be fed by the mother's milk, so he will be given some starchy diet which will be not enough for his protein, not a good amount of protein in it, and hence he will be start suffering from this kind of kwashiorkor. The second one is marasmus, which is normally taking place in infants, that is the age group of 1 year. Marasmus usually occurs in infants below the age of 1 year, and it is due to the deficiency of carbohydrates, fats and proteins in the diet. This usually is caused due to the sudden stoppage of breastfeeding, followed by the diet poor in energy giving food like carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Symptoms: less body weight, degeneration resulting in weak body, and as it forms of muscles, skin and bones only. Skin becomes loosely folded, thin face, thinning of limbs, retarded physical and mental growth, ribs appearing prominently. So these are the symptoms of marasmus. So you can see that marasmus, जैसे पता, it was in the first 1 year of the growth of the baby, whereas 1 साल के बाद अगर होता है तो kwashiorkor, क्योंकि kwashiorkor क्या था, it was by the newborn. न्यूबॉर्न हुआ इसीलिए बड़े बच्चे को अभी ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग नहीं मिल रहा है. That's why he will be suffering because if he is not getting a proper protein diet. So whereas a baby who is just within the 1 years of age and is not getting a proper protein diet, then he will be suffering from marasmus. So control the child suffering from marasmus should be given a diet rich in protein and carbohydrates. The difference between marasmus and kwashiorkor is kwashiorkor, it affects child from the age group of 1 to 5 years of age. Marasmus affects infants up to 1 year of age. Kwashiorkor is due to the deficiency of protein in the diet, whereas marasmus is due to the deficiency of carbohydrate, proteins and fats in the diet. Kwashiorkor, oedema of legs and the face is there, and swelling of the legs and face is there. Marasmus, no oedema. Kwashiorkor, the skin of the patient become dark and scaly. Marasmus, no darkening of the skin. Kwashiorkor, no degeneration of the muscle, whereas marasmus, degeneration of the muscles with the body becoming very weak. So that was about the kwashiorkor and marasmus, and also the fats, proteins. The next what we see is the mineral salts. So I think I'll take the mineral salts in the next video.